Imagine a stranger arrives in a pre-independence Indian village with a big promise. Come with us and we'll take you to Sriramdesh, a land where life would be better, where your children would never go hungry, and where a new future awaited you. For thousands of Indians living in the 19th century, that promise was impossible to ignore. They left their ancestral villages, crossed the dreaded Kala Pani, and traveled half a world away, believing that they were journeying towards hope. But when they finally reached the other side, there was no paradise waiting for them. There was no Sriramdesh. But they did something truly monumental. If they could not find Sriramdesh, they would use their own hands, their ancient faith, Sanatan Dharma, and their memories to build it themselves. Namaste and welcome to Chaturya. I'm K. Kumar, author and screenwriter. And for the first time on this channel, we are not exploring an ancient temple or a sacred river or mountain of India. Instead, we are following the footprints of the people who carried the eternal spirit of Bharat across the vastness of the oceans. This is the remarkable story of the Indians who arrived in the distant wilderness of South America in the colony of Suriname. It is a story of profound loss, of absolute resilience, and of how an entire community transformed a broken promise into a living civilization. When it comes to preserving one civilization, one of the most important aspects is its oral traditions. And I have tried to bring the oral treasures of my ancestors in my book, Daiva, which is now available in bookshops as well as on Amazon and Flipkart. I will leave a purchase link in the description below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, then please do subscribe. And also hype this video so that it reaches maximum people. To understand why thousands of Indians accepted this impossible journey, we must look at the formal legal framework that initiated it. Following the abolition of slavery in Suriname in 1863, Dutch plantation owners faced an acute labor shortage on their estates. The Dutch needed a solution. And seeing the immense success of Indian labor in neighboring British territories like Guyana and Trinidad, the Dutch government executed a formal treaty with the British Imperial Crown in 1870, known historically as the Coolie Treaty. This treaty established a rigorous recruitment network across the Bhojpuri and Awadhi-speaking belts of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar in northern India. Licensed recruiters operating from sub-depots in major cities like Faizabad, Basti and Muzaffarpur looked for specific physical profiles. They targeted young, able-bodied individuals between the ages of 18 and 35, seeking those with a natural disposition for agriculture and an unyielding capacity for hard physical work. Across these regions under colonial rule, poverty was widespread and opportunities were scarce. The recruiters traveled from village to village, promising guaranteed work, good wages, and a chance to return home after 5 years with enough resources to build a better future. To people who had never traveled beyond neighboring towns, it sounded like the opportunity of a lifetime. Many could not even map where these distant lands were. Some believed that they were traveling to another kingdom within India or simply crossing a large river. With this hope, they signed a formal contract. In the accents of the villages that they came from, the word contract slowly changed, becoming something known forever as Kantrak. The people who signed it did not call themselves generic laborers, they were called Kantrakis, or even Kalkatiyas, signifying their historic gathering at the port of Calcutta or Kolkata in eastern India. They placed their thumbprints as signatures on these documents or contracts, entirely unaware that the single legal act would change the history of their civilization forever. They were going to Sriramdesh. The road to Sriramdesh began in Bengal, at the central Suriname depot and garden reach along the Hooghly River in Calcutta. This was where thousands of recruits gathered before boarding sailing vessels that would carry them halfway across the world. For many, it was the first time they had ever seen the ocean, and before them lay the Kala Pani, the black waters. For generations, traditional beliefs held that crossing the open sea meant leaving behind the sacred, familiar world. In fact, in many communities, crossing the sea was even forbidden. Yet, driven by the necessity of survival, they climbed aboard crowded transport ships. And between 1873 and 1916, about 34,000 Indians, that is right, 34,000 Indians would make this perilous journey, split across 64 separate ship voyages. As the coast of India slowly disappeared into the horizon, the Kalkatiyas realized they were entering a complete displacement. The voyage lasted nearly 3 months, charting a grueling path across the Indian Ocean, around the Cape of Good Hope, and across the Atlantic. But the journey was painful. Cramped living conditions, tropical diseases, and heavy ocean storms tested both body and spirit of all these travelers. And within these crowded decks, traditional social divisions started dissolving. Sharing the same food and the same air, the pioneers forged a lifelong, unbreakable bond known as the Jahaji Bhai and Jahaji Behan, the brothers and sisters of the Jahaz or ship. When land finally appeared on the horizon, they were no longer isolated villages. They had become a single unified community ready to face a new continent, the South American frontier. On June 4, 1873, the first transport vessel, the sailing ship Lallaruk, dropped its anchor at the mouth of the Suriname River, and when they stepped onto the soil of Paramaribo, the capital city, the environment they encountered was an absolute shock to the senses. This was Dutch Guyana, a sparsely populated plantation colony situated on the northern tip of South America. The tropical rainforests were denser than anything they had seen in the plains of India. Because remember, they are coming from the northern part, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. The monsoons were brutal. And the surrounding social landscape was highly fragmented, populated by European planters, indigenous people, and the descendants of emancipated African slaves known locally as Creoles. These new immigrants from India were immediately allocated across various sugar, cacao, and coffee estates, where daily life was strictly governed by supervisors and unrelenting physical labor. The South American environment felt entirely foreign. The tropical forests were thicker than the plains of India, the rivers flowed through unfamiliar landscapes, and even the wildlife sounded completely different. Under the strict legal regime of the colony, the penal sanction was enforced on these immigrants. Any perceived neglect of work or an uncompleted daily task was treated as a criminal offense, punishable by severe fines or imprisonment in chains. The dream they had been promised had vanished. There was no Sriramdesh waiting for them, only an untamed frontier they would have to conquer with their own hands. And that raised a critical civilizational question. Separated from the sacred geography of Bharat by half a world, how could they possibly keep their heritage alive? The first decades of settlement were the most severe. India was half a world away, and ocean travel remained far too dangerous and expensive for an ordinary person. With every passing year, one question became impossible to ignore. What would happen to the children born on this South American soil? These children would never walk along the banks of the Ganga or visit the ancestral shrines of their Kuladevatas and Gramadevatas. Would they still know who they were? To prevent total cultural erosion, ordinary families stepped onto the roles of preservationists. Parents became educators and grandparents became the living libraries of the community. Every evening, after the exhausting labor in the fields, children gathered around their elders to inherit their civilization. The Ramcharitmanas of Goswami Tulsidas was recited entirely from memory. The timeless Puranic narratives of the Mahabharata and the Bhagavata Purana and other Puranas were retold again and again. The names of Prabhu Sri Rama, Devi Sita, Bhagavan Krishna, and Hanuman echoed through the plantation huts. These ancestors, they understood a profound law of cultural survival. That is, a civilization does not disappear when it loses its geographical territory. It disappears when its people lose its memory. Night after night, memory became inheritance, ensuring that Bharat was no longer just a place left behind, but an internal landscape that they carried within their consciousness. While one-third of the immigrants utilized their legal right to a free return passage to India, a staggering two-thirds made a strategic decision to settle permanently in Suriname. The primary reason for this was a unique 1895 colonial ordinance. The Dutch government offered every worker who surrendered their return ticket to India a cash premium and a plot of exceptionally fertile land completely free of rent. So they utilized this opportunity to become independent landowners, converting the wild South American marshes into expansive, highly productive rice paddies and agricultural settlements. Slowly, the traditions that had been guarded inside family homes stepped out into the open world. Simple household prayer gatherings evolved into beautiful permanent mandirs or temples. Village recitations grew into organized Ramayana mandalis. Festivals, once observed quietly by a handful of families, became national celebrations embraced by the entire country. Deepavali illuminated entire neighborhoods, and Phagua filled the streets with traditional music, color, and absolute cultural pride. Sarnami Hindostani, the unique language of the diaspora, successfully preserved the linguistic heritage of Bhojpuri and Awadhi while adapting seamlessly to its new home. Today, Sanatan Dharma remains one of the major foundational faiths of Suriname. Its mandirs stand proudly across the country, its music thrives, and its values remain completely unbroken more than a century after the first ships arrived. When we strip away modern materialist distortions, we are left with a simple truth. A civilization is never defined by its political borders, but by the resilience of its people. You can erase kingdoms, redraw maps, and transport population thousands of kilometers away from their ancestral soil, but if the people, if they carry their stories, their songs, their unyielding faith, and their gods, then their civilization travels with them. The Kantrakis, the Kalkatiyas, these immigrants, were promised a land called Sriramdesh. They did not find it waiting for them. Instead, through centuries of devotion and labor and hard work, they became its magnificent builders. If this epic chronicle of spiritual survival moved you, then share this video with one person who needs to connect with their true roots. And let us get a discussion started in the comment section below. Had you ever heard of Sriramdesh before today? Do tell me in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the forgotten stories of Indian civilization, please subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I am @the Kumar. And this is just the beginning. Our next journey may take us to another corner of the world. But wherever we go, we'll be following the footsteps of Bharat. So until next time, may Prabhu Sri Ram be with you.